everyone. I'm Ryan from rockthedivine.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to my latest video. I got some new lights. They're box lights that I added to my ring light, and I feel like that there's a spaceship in front of me is what I feel like. So anyway, if it looks really bright or it looks good or bad, just trying to look professional, people. Okay, so this is the latest batch of questions from viewers. Thank you so much for sending them in. I really appreciate. I try to pick the ones that I have not answered before in a previous video, and I also try to answer ones that I feel would benefit the collective. So here we go. We're going to get right into it. This person asked, why can't we see or hear our spirit guides? Why assign these beings to us to help us on our journey, but make it so difficult for us to contact them? Well, first I want to say that you can hear and see your spirit guides, but just not in the way that you hear and see things throughout your day. You need to use your intuitive abilities, your clairvoyance, your clairaudience to see and hear your guides in a way that's not as obvious. That's true, but it's a different way of perceiving. So we're used to using our five senses. Well, you have more senses than that. And so yes, you can absolutely see your spirit guides and hear them very clearly, especially once you get trained properly to do so in practice. So if you're looking for them with your eyeballs or trying to hear them with your actual ears, it's not that you can't, but it won't be as obvious. Okay, so that's what I want to say first of all. The reason that they're not as easy to see with your actual eyes and your ears is because they are in a different dimension, and it's hard for our human brain to process things that are in other dimensions if we haven't been taught properly to do so, or if we are not open to it. Okay, so once you find a mentor or teacher that can help you, and I have this happen almost every time I have a student, I'll teach them that they are seeing and hearing them and how it's coming across. They're always like, oh my God, here I've been seeing them the whole time and I didn't know that's what it was. So yes, it's definitely not as obvious. It's not third dimensional like we experience everything else, but you can definitely communicate and see your guides. Now, I do want to say that I think that part of there's many reasons. You know, we came to Earth to be humans. First and foremost, we are here for a human journey. And your angels and guides also don't want you so distracted. So if you could see your guides as easy as you can see the people in front of you, you would not be partaking in your human experience. You'll be very distracted, and you'd also be always turning and going, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, what do you think I should do with this? Hey, tell me this, tell me that. And even though your guides are there to assist you and to help line certain things up for you and help you experience different experiences, they are not meant to distract you from your free will and from using your own intuition. So that's also another reason that they're not very obvious. Okay, for the second question, what all do our souls bring into our next incarnation? So that's a big question. Even though it seems simple, it's a really big question because there are tons of things we bring from previous lives. Traumas, fears, karma, etc., etc. You bring into this life in hopes that you will be able to overcome things that you weren't in a previous life, or to even karma. If in a past life you were a victim, in this life you might be a predator of some sort or a leader. I mean, I know that sounds bad, but it's the truth. You're always playing different roles in each life, and within that life, many, many roles. So you bring a lot into your next life. What's most important is that the life that you're in, the one right now, that you that you try to be a good person and you honor your energy and you take care of yourself and you live from your heart and all that great stuff. That's what's important, because in theory, it'll make the next life easier because you've lived this one with good intentions. Okay. Okay. The next person wants to know why it's difficult to tell the difference between what they are hearing, seeing, and feeling versus what my spirit guide, my higher self, angels, or loved ones. Sometimes it makes me feel like I'm making things up. Okay, so it's not, so if you find a teacher or mentor or even do some online classes, you can learn to notice the obvious difference between how things are when you receive them clairaudiently, clairvoyantly, clairsentiently, and claircognizantly. They're all very different. I do want to say that when you get really good with your gifts, and sometimes even before, your abilities start to merge. So sometimes you are receiving multiple streams of information and you'll be like, I got that, but I'm not sure how I got it. It doesn't really matter. Everything's working as a team, especially when it's working really well. So yes, you can totally learn to separate the abilities and focus in on them to see how they are very different, because they are very different. Okay, so like when you're experiencing clairaudience, that is not clairvoyance. Okay, but I do think that sometimes when we're using our abilities, we're receiving, we're not sure how we're receiving, and that's more because you're in the zone. All right. And then also the second part of that is to know the difference between your spirit guide, higher self, angels, loved ones. Well, again, you can be trained to know the difference, because when someone's talking to you, you can say, who are you? And they'll tell you and you're like, oh, that's my spirit guide. But to be honest, again, it doesn't really matter as long as you're receiving information from the divine, so from higher evolved beings. What happens is that you receive the information from God, from source, through your spirit guides or through the angels, spirit guides, your higher self to you. It's all coming down in like that. So really, you don't need to separate them. They're all one. They're all one with you. What matters is you're receiving information. If you really want to know who it is, you can just straight up ask and they'll tell you. But again, you don't need to know where it was being received from, because everyone's working as a team. Okay. This person asks, I've often wondered if spirits inhabit nature like they do structures such as houses, and can one communicate with them? Absolutely. You have lots of spirits that are in nature. You have, especially ones like elementals, higher elementals, because there are lower elementals. You want to be speaking with higher elementals that inhabit nature. And you also have cryptoids, and you have lots of beings and spirits that live in the woods, basically. Do you ever notice you ever feel like you're being watched when you're in the woods? Might be a reason. Can you communicate with them? Absolutely. But you better know who you're communicating with, because, like I said, there's all kinds of beings that are in the woods, and you want to make sure you know who you're talking to. Okay. Next question. This person said, when I ask for answers and guidance from my guides, sometimes I get accurate answers and other times I get mixed answers, which confuse me and I don't know what to trust, which makes me question everything. I absolutely understand that, and there's a few reasons. One, you're a human, so you are never going to be 100% right. You can get damn good at it, but you have to allow that, since you are a human and not a god, that as the information is coming in, is still being filtered by your humanness, if that's a word. So you won't always be right. As you practice, you will learn to get better and better at receiving, and you'll go, generally I'm 80 to 90% accurate. That's pretty good. But even I get stuff wrong periodically. Sometimes I'm perceiving the information incorrectly. It's being filtered through my human mind, which has sort of my signature on it. So, I might see something and perceive it differently than another medium would have that saw the same exact thing. Um, Generally you get where you start trusting yourself more and more, so those inaccurate answers happen less and less. But I will say, what you don't want to do is ask the same question many, many times, because that is where you will start to see hiccups. And it can be because you have lower beings that start answering because they're getting in due to your fear that you're wrong. So you can have lower beings answering. You can have you start answering. So like your ego will answer. And then that's also mixed in with the answer you're getting from the divine. So what I tell people is, if you're going to ask something, ask it once. If you're not sure, you can ask again, but you want to make sure that you're centered, grounded, and that you're not trying to half-ass the connection, because if you're half-assing the connection, that can be when your ego gets in the way. Okay, so there's also lots of other things, like you could have blockages and things like that can sort of mix up the information. But just keep practicing, trust yourself, don't ask the same question many, many times, because even your guides will give you a wrong answer to teach you a lesson. So like if you keep receiving the same answer and you keep asking, they'll be like, well, she's not listening, so we're just going to say something different. And then what happens is you think, oh God, I got it wrong. And then you keep asking. So just try to trust yourself as best as you can. And this person said, also, how can I tell the difference between our guides and negative entities? Well, you should be taught to, okay? But basically, if you're always centering yourself and grounding yourself, calling in divine white light when you're connecting with your guides, and then also having boundaries. So, you're saying, I will only interact with those of the highest vibration of the light. Generally, you shouldn't have a problem. You'll still sometimes get the little buggers answering you because we can't be totally unaffected. But usually how you can tell the difference is that if it's a dark entity or a low-level being, they lie, they fib, and they try to scare you. So, they'll just answer the dumbest shit. They can't even pretend to behave. That's what's kind of funny, is like right away, they're answering dumb shit or fearful stuff. Your angels and guides will always be direct with you, but they will not scare you, okay? And they will never answer negative answers. They'll always have a positive spin to it, an honest answer, but a positive spin, okay? We're lower beings, they just talk shit. So that's how you'll know, okay? Okay. This person asked, how long after someone passes away can we begin to communicate with them? That very much varies. I've heard rules before from some of my mentors, like to wait 6 months to a year, and I think that's a fair statement. I've communicated with people sometimes 2-3 months after they passed. The reason it varies is it depends on what that spirit is going through. Their transition to the other side might be fast, it might be longer than some. A lot of times they have to work through certain things depending on how they died, how their life was, and that process can be short or long. So I tell people, give them a few months at least before you try to communicate. That will give them some time to transition and adapt to their surroundings. And the better they're feeling on the other side, the more they were able to adapt, the easier it'll be for them to communicate. So it's not that you can't communicate, but your communication might be very limited when you do try to communicate. So you're just going to have a better communication if you wait a little bit. But honestly, there's not a hard and fast rule for it. It varies. And I tell people, if you're trying to communicate and it seems very limited, just give it some more time. But everyone wants some time when they go someplace. So just keep that in mind. Even though we're very eager to talk to our loved ones, give them some time to adapt, okay? The next question, how can one open up more to what the universe wants to communicate to us? That's a big question. I feel that that's very unique to you, okay? Because we all have limited viewpoints and things that are sort of blocking us from receiving. I would say that my answer would be to be able to become as present as possible. I think that the divine are able to download and communicate with us on a deeper level when we're meditating, when we're doing yoga, when we're being present. I think that that's when you'll receive most of what the universe wants to communicate to you. And a lot of times it won't be obvious. That's the thing. It'll sort of just almost be like a download. Okay. But I really feel that's very unique. I don't think I can give another answer other than that, because everyone's on a different journey. Okay. They have been able to connect with their angels and guides with their clairsentience, clairaudience, and clairvoyance. Does this make someone a medium or just intuitive? Does this mean I have the potential to connect with the dead, or is it possible I only have the ability to connect with divine beings? So everyone has the four clairs. It's just to what degree. I do feel that certain people are meant to be mediums, and other people are meant to maybe just speak with higher evolved beings. This gets there's a gray area here though, because I have a lot of people that come to me that have had mediumship experiences, but yet their spirit guides are telling me that they're not meant to do mediumship for other people. So, can you speak with deceased loved ones? Probably. Should you be doing it for a living? Maybe not. A lot of times, if you can communicate with your guides, just ask them straight up. Some people do mediumship and they find it drains them. Their energy very much suffers. Other people are just really damn good at it because their energy is more in alignment for it. So see the gray area there. It's like, it's good to ask your angels and guides if you should be doing something, because it doesn't mean that you can't. It might mean that you shouldn't be. There are people who are strictly intuitive. What's that saying? Like, all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums. I believe that that's true. Okay. It's like, I can do mediumship. I am a medium. I do better with higher evolved beings. Okay. So yeah, just if you can communicate, ask your angels and guides, or find a teacher or mentor who can help you navigate if you're supposed to be doing that. But yeah, some people are strictly just psychic and some people are mediums, okay? Okay, this person asked, do we have more than one higher self? I actually asked the guides directly and they said, hold on, let me bring it up. They said you have one for every level of consciousness you are in. There you go. Okay, this person said dreams and astral travel. How do you tell the difference and how to remember? Well, when you sleep at night, you definitely travel, okay? And you dream. I don't think you need to tell the difference. You're doing both, and you have many versions of yourself that are working, going to school, teaching, doing all these other things. So it just depends on what level of you is doing what. I don't think it's going to be very easy to separate those, and you don't need to, like I said. This person asks, would love if you could share ways to protect ourselves when connecting with spirit. So I'm just going to give you the basics, because there's lots and lots of things you could do, but all you need to know is the basic. Whenever you're connecting with spirit, you need to center yourself, which is following your breath in and out by focusing on your heart center. Then you ground yourself into the earth, and then you surround yourself with divine white light, a white light shield, a ball, a shape of an egg, whatever you want. And then you state, I will only interact with those of the highest vibration of the light, or whatever you want to say that's the gist of that, okay? What you're doing is you're having boundaries of who you'll talk to, and by surrounding yourself with divine white light, you are making sure that only those of the highest vibration of the light are interacting with you. That's the cut and dry thing. There's sort of other things I could get into, but if you know that, you're doing good. This is a similar question to another one I did earlier. How do you tell the difference between energies, spirits, shadows, darker beings? You get good with your abilities, and you are able to see and sense the differences. It's a little unique to each person, but generally, if something's low level, it will look dark, like shadows. It has usually a fast energy, I should say an anxious energy, not so much fast. And sometimes you just won't feel well, or you'll get anxious or nervous or fearful around the bean. That usually is how you know if something's, icky. Again, work with a teacher, work with a mentor. They will teach you who's who and how to tell the difference. The reason I tell people to get good with your clairs is because then you can see clairvoyantly what you're looking at, okay? And that'll tell you a lot of times what type of being you're working with. But also you can straight up ask your guides. You know, if something's in the room, I'll say to my guides, like, what is that? And they'll say, God, I've heard all kinds of things. And then so if something's icky, I can go, get the hell out of here. Sometimes I see something and they'll be like, oh, that's a spirit guide. I'm like, hey, what's your name? So get good with your clairs, and it's not hard to tell who's who. Okay. This person asked what I thought about ascension. Sort of a vague question, but I'll try to answer best I can. I don't worry about it. Obviously, we all have souls, and our souls are trying to ascend in each life we're in. I just am trying to live my best life and honor my energy and my being and chase things that excite me and make me feel passionate and pique my curiosity. And I'm trying to be a good person. Some days I fail at it. But I don't really worry. I'm not worried about it. My higher self, my soul is setting things up to make sure that I'm ascending. Hopefully I am. Hopefully you are. But I don't worry about it too much. There's no sense. You're just supposed to try to live your best life. Okay. This person asked that they keep falling into a pattern of getting lazy and not meditating and not practicing their gifts. What's the best way to push yourself through those times? We don't think you have to push yourself through those times. I think that there's some days, because you're human, you're not going to want to do something, and that's no big deal. If you're doing it all the time, though, it says to me that there's probably things going on with you personally that you need to look at, that's making you feel sort of complacent. And it might seem not connected to your abilities, but it probably is, because we can't separate ourselves. We're totally connected. Physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally. It's all connected, okay? So I would do that. The other thing I would do is make sure that you're not making something that should be fun difficult, okay? So even though you do need to practice, you do need to absorb knowledge and what have you, it should be fun. You should feel better after you do it. It should be exciting. Even with the meditating, it's like, you just have to recognize when you're being complacent. I have a lot of people that are like, I'm busy, and I'm like, shut up. You're not busier than anybody else. Take your time to meditate, because you will feel better. So it's sort of like getting on the treadmill. I don't want to get on the treadmill, but I also like to eat and drink, so I got to get on the treadmill. If you want your abilities to be stronger, you have to put in the time and, give yourself some off days, take a break, but generally, how bad do you want it? Ask yourself that, okay? Thank you everyone for watching. If you have more questions, please leave them in the comments below. I will save them for my next video. If you need help with your abilities, you can get a hold of me at rockthedivine.com. I just took on my latest round of mentoring students for March. I am hoping that my next round will be for April, but it may not be until the beginning of May. In the meantime, I offer Vimeo rentals. If you go to my website under instructional videos, you can find the link that will take you to my Vimeo on demand page. I've had really good feedback from my videos. They are something to teach you things in the meantime and give you some homework so you can practice your abilities until we can mentor together one-on-one. Thank you very much, babes. Have a good day.